Greetings and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as Isaac. I finally unlocked the dedication achievement, and if you don't know what it is, it was an achievement that required you to play 30 dailies in a row. A lot of people were upset by this. I think that's quite understandable, just because not everyone has the access to their computer every single day of the month. And of course, when people don't have it, they really can't complete it. I think that's maybe alleviated by the fact that you can just enter the daily and just exit it immediately, but at the same time, if someone really cares about the score, that's not something that maybe they want to necessarily do. So just in that sense, it was quite a limiting achievement. And I do think that achievement shouldn't be limiting, or maybe they shouldn't really change the way you play. They should be added challenges on top of what you already have in the game. And I think a lot of people agree with that notion. But locking an achievement like that behind a wall where you had to do something for every single day, and it just required this level of dependency of you from the game that I don't think a lot of people can afford. And I'm glad it changed. And now what it reads is that you just have to do 30 days in total. And I think that's a much more appropriate achievement. I still don't like the idea of it just because it does require someone to kind of force themselves to do something. But you know, at least it's more in tandem with other achievements that exist in other games. So I'm not too upset by it. And what's really funny about this achievement is that it just didn't work. When it first came out, when Afterbirth Plus came out, the achievement was bugged and it didn't count your dailies, I think, for the first 7 days or so. There was a patch addressing that, but it essentially reset the progress of every single player. What's even more messed up is that some people actually played the practice runs before, and the practice runs before the initial patch actually counted towards your daily achievement, and for some reason that didn't get reset or something like that. So a lot of people actually unlocked the achievement on the first day or maybe even the second day, which was quite a bit crazy. Of course, they didn't maybe patch it. I mean, they did fix that bug, so it wasn't possible to do after. But of course, after a month or so of implementing that, I don't think it was even a month from the last patch, what they did is they changed the achievement so you only need to do 30 total dailies. And from what I know is that it reset the progress for another people at the same time. Luckily, it didn't reset my progress. I think I still made it in total. So I can't be too upset. But from what I understand is that some people's progress was actually reset. And maybe the biggest problem here is that it wasn't even reset. Is that just we don't have any indication of which day we are on. So maybe some people are miscounting or whatever. But still, just the fact that there was so much commotion with this achievement, I'm just so glad it's actually back to actually working and it being changed to a much more reasonable thing, so that people who are playing the Isaac dailies or just Isaac in general can unlock this achievement without actually being forced to play this game every single day. Of course, that is neither here or there. I'm just glad I actually got it over with, because I think it was bugged, and because I did quit one of my dailies, or at least I didn't do them because of my thesis, I think right in the middle of the pact, and if this patch actually did reset my achievement again, that means I would have to do another 30 dailies or so to actually unlock it. So that means that I would essentially have to do 90 dailies in total, with only one missed in between to unlock the achievement. And you can imagine that committing 3 months to a game just for one single achievement is quite a tell. That's not to say that it's not worth it, or maybe that I think it's a waste of time or anything like that. I just feel like any achievement shouldn't really require you to take so much time and consideration to actually completing it. So like I said, I'm just glad it's over with and that I actually can focus on just playing the daily normally now, and even if I miss one, I don't really have to worry about it too much. So what this daily was crazy. You saw the first devil deal was just amazing, and I think it's the first time that actually got Judas's tongue to work somewhat optimally for us. And I think this is telling that the first time, I think at least is the first time, ever since I've played Isaac, even since the Flash version, Judas's tongue has never helped me or put me in a position where it made or broke my run. And I think this is the first daily or the first run that has done it. And in the first devil deal we had Mob the Void, which I believe is a 2-card deal. The other one was Mom's Knife, and the third one was the Necronomicon, and I only had 3 spirit hearts, or I mean 3 full hearts and 1 spirit heart. So if I didn't have Judas's Tongue, I would only be able to afford 2 of those items. Of course, the Necronomicon in this case is something that you're just not gonna pick up. Obviously, if you have 3 hearts, you're gonna pick up Mob the Void and Mom's Knife, but because I decided to pick up Necronomicon first, I rerolled it twice and also got Incubus on top of that. So that means that Judas's Tongue in this case essentially allowed us to take 3 items as opposed to 2, and even with that said, it didn't really improve us that much, because Incubus with Mom's Knife is not that good. It's a nice addition, don't get me wrong, it's essentially double shots, and especially with homing, you do get some extended range, so it's maybe a bit easier to hit, but still, it didn't maybe make or break the run. But it was the first time I've ever seen it actually be useful, at least to some degree, and I'm glad it was on the daily where I unlocked this dreaded achievement that we all feared to do. But even so, that this one run was very strong, I fell into that same trap where I maybe underestimate the size of the floors, or at least the size of the floors that they can be at the end. Just because some of the floors were really, really big, even though I was really, really strong, just because there were so many sacks on the ground, so many consumables, I spent a lot of time opening up those and then just picking them up, and of course that just kind of adds up over time. And I think I was at the 15th minute at depths 2, and when I entered, not depths 2, but the 4th floor. So when I entered the 5th floor, I only had essentially 4 minutes to complete that one, get to mom, and then actually get to boss rush. So I knew that it was possible just because of how strong this run was, but at the same time, it's never a position you really want to be in, because as soon as you're rushing, you're going to be missing on so many consumables, you're going to be missing on maybe some rooms that you kind of want to explore if you really want to get an edge on the daily, and overall, it's just a very shitty position to be in. Even though you have this strong run, you can't really take advantage of it, and I think, like I said, that's a bit of a problem with me, maybe just the size of the floor sometimes, and I definitely should be playing much faster than I did previously, but I definitely think that Afterbirth Plus has made maybe on average the floors just a bit bigger, because some of these floors are actually huge. I've encountered floors in Depths 1 which are bigger than Womb 1 or Womb 2 combined, and I think that I know that there's just variance. I know that it's something that happens to everyone just because we're all playing on the same playing terms, so to say. We all have the same chances of encountering the same rooms or whatever, so I'm not too upset by the fact that the rooms are big. I'm maybe just more upset by the fact that I can't really compensate, or maybe I just didn't get used to it. And even though I have 60 dailies under my belt, and probably something like 20 runs in total besides that, I still haven't gotten used to it, and even though I feel like I'm playing faster on the earlier floors, as soon as I get maybe to the 3rd or the 4th floor, the size of it just kind of trumps me, and I spend too much time just kind of picking up consumables, maybe playing the blood bank or whatever, and I think I really fall behind at that stage. And thankfully, this run was strong enough that I was able to save it and actually get to boss rush in time. I was hoping in boss rush I would get a card just because I had so many sacks and so many payouts. I also had the bag of coins. I mean, I had a sack of sacks, but a sack of coins as well. I think a sack of pennies, that's how it's called. But because we had Sackhead, we also had a chance that that penny which spawned would turn into a sack. I mean, the penny was, yeah, I said that right. And then maybe that sack could contain a card which would teleport us out of the boss rush, and then I could use that, obviously, to explore a bit further. I think I missed 2 boss trap rooms, I think I also missed some secret rooms, so that was very unfortunate in this case, because I think my score could have actually ended up being a lot higher. And you never know that what you can find in a secret room is an item, and the secret room pool is actually quite small, and contains a lot of items which help you to break the game or just get a lot more points. The first one that comes to mind is probably Blank Card, which you can find in the secret room, and the other one is probably Forget Me Now. And both of these items are just great because they essentially allow you to either break the game via the Yarrow rune, and of course we also have Rune Bag, because why not? And Forget Me Now does allow you to do an extra floor essentially, and that also just gives you a ton of points in general. In this case, what I decided to do, I did have the Yarrow room, but I didn't have the Blank Card as soon as I entered the Harsh shop, or just the Harsh floor. So what I decided to do is to duplicate the chest in hopes that I would get a lot of sacks out of it, I would get a lot of battery charges, and then I could use my D6 to reroll the shop items, and that's the plan worked perfectly, because I got the blank card to do the shop, and because how many battery charges there were, I then decided to use the correct dice that I got by just opening up the sacks, and then I rerolled a bit of them to actually get a higher consumable bonus, but I was also gunning for getting a bit more spirit hearts, just so I would actually feel much safer when fighting Harsh. Thankfully, by just virtue of how strong we were, I think that was the easiest Harsh fight of my life. I was dealing so much raw damage that I think I beat Harsh much faster than I actually took the time to break the game previously and get the amount of spirit hearts, and you always know it's a good run when Harsh actually doesn't manage to hit you. So with that said, we did find the blank card, we did find the Yarrow rune eventually on this floor, and I decided to break the game in the case of just duplicating a lot of consumables, just getting a lot of points that way. What's really great about blank card Yarrow is that you can do it in 3 minutes flat, and I also think because I had car battery, not that thing, but I know because I had car battery, that means that essentially every time we double the consumables, we could quadruple them. So all in all, you just get a bunch more points, it's done much quicker, and all in all, I just feel like this is the best, the most elegant way to actually break the game. And you can really get a lot of points this way. And that's exactly what I did, I didn't really shame anything from it. You can see here that I'm using my blank card and blank rune at the same time, which is maybe in the tandem with using Yarrow Rune. I was hoping that at least one of those uses would be a Yarrow Rune, which would allow me to get more charges out of it, but I was mainly gunning for maybe an Awas into a Crawl Space, or maybe even Degas, which would give me an additional Spirit Heart, and that's exactly what I'm going back for here. I'm trying to use Awas as often as possible to guarantee, or maybe just to increase my chances of getting a Crawl Space, and you never know, in the Crawl Space you can find a black market, and I think those can contain paths to go one floor deeper on, or one floor lower. I'm not really sure, I'm just thinking if it's actually possible to do that on a daily run. It might be, it might not be, but nevertheless it doesn't hurt to try, or at least you just get some points for visiting the Crawl Space. I think in total I used the Awas rune about 30 times, and I did the math, and I think that there's a 90% chance to actually get a Crawl Space, because every single use is 8%, and just by how many times I used it, there was essentially a 10% chance that I wouldn't get a single Crawl Space, so I got really unlucky in this particular daily, but it's also possible that you just can't get Crawl Spaces past a certain point in daily runs. I'm not really sure at this point, it does seem quite unlikely that I didn't get the Crawl Space by just the virtue of how many times I did use the Awas rune, but you never know, it's possible just due to variance and maybe me just being a bit unlucky. Overall, this was a very decent run. You can see that I ended in a very high spot with 51,000 points on a run that goes to Shoal. Yeah, the Shoal, I did say that right. For some reason I always mix it up with Darkroom, I think it's just because of the backdrop. But 51,000 points on a run that doesn't go to Mega Satan is just always an awesome score. I think the highest score in this one was 57,000, which also includes a lot of breaking, maybe a Forget Me Now along the way, or maybe just a 5 dice room. And my damage penalty could be higher. It wasn't maybe the lowest, I did get hit quite a few times unnecessarily, but overall it wasn't too high, and I'm quite glad with how it turned out. My item penalty was obviously quite on the high side just because of how many items we've gotten, but thankfully the items that we did get did help us to kind of essentially beat this run without taking more damage penalty. Now, if I could do some things differently, I think it's definitely that I should have picked up a bit less items, but I also maybe should have just focused a bit more earlier on to go a bit faster, because I think that's maybe the biggest doom or the biggest point loss I got in this run, but overall I can't really complain too much. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I hope to see you next time.